Good morning, Andre. Are we correcting?
Good morning, Chair. We are correcting, Chair. Shall I do a quick roll call, Chair?
Please do.
Mr. Koza,
Hello, present.
Ms. Mochikatsi,
Good morning, I'm present.
Mr. Langa,
Good morning. I'm here. Thank you.
Mr. Chance,
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Mr. Thring,
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues.
Mr. Mndluli,
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues. I'm here.
Dr. Kigaba is on the platform, Chair. Chair, those are the members currently on the platform, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can you fly to the agenda?
Chair, the agenda is flighted, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Recording in progress.
when it comes to that. So, Loazi, can you actually give us apologies and then read the Treasury response to our invitation?
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members. Chairperson, on my side, I only have an apology from Honorable Mahlatsi. That's the only apology that I have received, Chairperson. I will try to share the email from Treasury now on the screen while I'm reading it, Chairperson. I hope the letter is visible, honorable members. Sorry, Chair, I see a hand of Honorable Adams.
Honorable Adams.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to everybody on the platform. There was an apology from Honorable Isaacs. She's with other meeting, so she apologized to this one. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Honorable Adams. Is there any other member who may be actually having an apology for another member? Well, if none, then I will ask the committee secretary to continue.
Chairperson.
Yes.
It's not an apology, but just to note, my voice is not okay because of flu.
Wow, sorry about that.
But I will be with you.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Honorable Dalani.
Thank you.
Okay, Secretary.
Thank you, Chairperson. As you know, Chairperson, we have sent an invitation to the National Treasury requesting to meet with them. They did, first of all, Chair, they did request that the meeting should be virtual because of other commitments. So we decided to give them the virtual platform. After that, we received this letter from National Treasury. I'll be reading it, Chair. Dear Mr. Mwango, invitation to brief the Portfolio Committee on Land Reform and Rural Development on expenditure trends and funding for land reform. Your request to have National Treasury present to the Portfolio Committee on Budget, Funding, and matters related to land reforms refers. In terms of the Public Finance Management Act 1999, PFMA, accounting officers of national departments are responsible for, amongst others, the efficient and effective management of fiscal resources. Given this, it would be inappropriate for the National Treasury to present on the expenditure trends of the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development. The funding arrangements related to institutions and service delivery are a core component of the policy development. In the case of land reform, this is the mandate of the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development. For the National Treasury to present on funding models to support programs and delivery objectives would undermine the policy development mandate of the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development. And the department is best placed to present on this. I remain committed to fostering transparency and accountability in all aspects of public finance. And I believe that clear delineation of responsibilities strengthen Parliament's oversight functions. However, in light of the above, I request that the National Treasury be excused from the meeting and thus not attend. Please contact me should there be any further clarifications required on this matter. Yours sincerely, Minister Enoch Kodongwana. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Secretary. So there you are, honorable members. As you are aware, that this department has actually been suffering progressive, decline in the budget, severe cuts over a number of years now. Now, I'm not too sure whether we are actually true to our objectives in terms of the NDP, that we are actually going to achieve the targets that we have set ourselves. This is, it's not, it is the government priority, programs. It's not just that it is thumb-sucked. So we wanted to engage the Treasury as to these progressive, reduction on the budget of land reform, and to understand how to these reductions actually, budgetary reductions actually, help to achieve the NDP, goals. So that is the reason why we wanted to have this meeting with the National Treasury. But I will actually be guided by the honorable members as to the way forward on this particular matter. Thank you. I'll recognize hands if there are any. I recognize the hand of Honorable Maseko, and after whom Honorable Adams, and then Honorable Mteto, in that particular order. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good morning, colleagues. Chair, I feel offended by the letter that came from Treasury because it's written in a way like we don't know what is it that we are doing. And I tend to believe that every communication that comes from this portfolio committee is intentional. There is a reason why we want to engage. And like you made it clear just now that what were the reasons. We totally supported that. We have to find out. We are trying to diagnose what is the problem for Treasury to cut the funding. And that is why we've got the Fiscal Commission here and the Treasury to talk to us to find out that when they cut, is it because they allocate the money that is not spent in the department, and how do we get to reset the button for the department to allocate the budget that will really be reactive to the demand out there as we move around doing oversight and seeing what are the challenges. But for the minister to say to us that doesn't see the reason, him being a member of parliament before he is a minister, it's really undermining our intelligence, and I refuse to be taken in that manner or to be responded in that manner. The least he could have done is to come and engage with us to tell us why does he feel he doesn't have to be here. It's only the minister of this portfolio committee that has to be here. So, Chair, from my side, the way forward, it will be we write back to the department, to minister, to say that we still want to engage because there is a reason why we want to engage. And also, because he mentioned the sections, we have the sections that we can summon him and force him to come in here and not be undermined in that fashion as if we don't know what is it that we are doing. Thank you, Chair.
Well, thank you, Honorable Maseko. Honorable Adams.
Thank you, Chairperson. And once again, good morning to all. Chairperson, I totally agree with Honorable Maseko on the letter that we received, but I don't think that it is really the issue of not coming when the PC is inviting the minister to give us information regarding the budget on land reform. As we know that the Deputy President in his remarks 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, he reflected on the redistribution of land and that he was with the minister on land reform. They visited some areas and there's really a need to get this land distribution to finalize. So we don't know how much is the budget. Is there budget left, or did they add some budget to the department? So really we are in the dark with the budget of our committee, and especially when it comes to the department, we are not getting the true reflection or honest reflection on the budget, that they are busy with the claims or whatever. So I think that the minister has to summon to the committee and give us the information that we really needed on the budget of land redistribution, land reform and redistribution. Thank you, Chair.
Well, thank you, Honorable Adams. Honorable Nyamboso.
Thanks, Chair, and greetings to fellow portfolio committee members and our fellow officials. When you read the undertone of this letter, the minister is indirectly saying, I engage with the Minister of Land Reform, and then that's where we should be getting the briefing or an update on why and how are they being funded. But of course, yes, he's missing the context why we want this. One is not a competency of land reform in terms of budget allocation of departments. It is the Treasury function, because we want Treasury to explain the reduction, yet the backlog of land reform commitments is still very high. So this is actually showing us that it is not a priority according to his portfolio that we should have an incremental budget as this department, so as to ensure that we bring an end to the backlog. But I also want to indicate that we then can take the Deputy President on the basis of his commitment that there is progress being made on land reform, wherein now we actually indicate that Treasurer is not interested to come and give us their own side of the story in terms of why are we on a decline in terms of budget allocation, yet this is a fundamental aspect of our democratic dispensation, to the point that if the minister continues to show that kind of attitudes, then we can also even escalate it to the Deputy President, to invite the Deputy President to explain what the Minister of Finance is saying, because indirectly he's defying what the Deputy President was making as a commitment that there is progress that they are doing. And whilst we know there's no progress if we are on a spiral downward trend in terms of budgetary allocation, but also I did indicate some time back ago to say, when you talk about the issue of land reform, you have multiple stakeholders, of which the state is just one of the stakeholders. But we do have the old order regimes from the British era, 1910, the apartheid government 1948, then the democratic government in 94, then we have the mining houses, then we have property associations, we have service delivery council, we have commercial industries, and SANRAL. These stakeholders are the users of the land which we are today seeking a redress. And there is monies that they need to pay towards the fund that should do redress, because the statutory interventions are very minimal, but the huge chunk will come from these stakeholders because they are still continuing making money using the same land which is supposed to be redressed back to the previously disadvantage. So that is what we also need to balance. Maybe next time we can even reach out to the stakeholders, since they are implicated in the History of Forced Removal Act and the History of Land Act. We do see them as beneficiaries of that land policy which dispossessed our people. So we also can engage the private sector. They are owing a lot in this, and they're making this money, the money we are seeking for it to be an increase on our budget. These stakeholders are making it on a daily basis, and that money is the money that they should set aside as their corporate social investment in using other people's land, which they know, based on the history of this country, that people were forcibly removed in order for them to benefit. And it's their turn now to redress those imbalances. It's not just a one-sided thing. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Nyambose. Well, I understand where you're coming from, but it must actually start with our Treasury, coming to engage with us on these issues for us to understand where the problem is before we actually go out of the government framework and begin to invite other stakeholders. But the Treasury must come and explain to us why this progressive reduction on budget allocation, how they are going to meet the NDP targets if they are actually not expressing their desire in terms of budget allocations. Is there any other hand, honorable members? I don't see any other hand. Well, in the absence of any other hand, I think I've heard members actually expressing their concern at the behavior of the National Treasury, and suggesting that we perhaps should write back and express our disquiet and insist that we still want to engage them for the sake of land reform and rural development. So we will be doing that perhaps before the end of this term. Before Parliament rises, we would have written a letter to the Honorable Minister of Finance to express that kind of disquiet. Thank you. Can we move on to our next item, which is actually the presentation by the Fiscal Commission, the Financial and the Fiscal Commission. They do have a presentation. I hope that our secretary would be able to flight the presentation as it being made, is being presented, so that we can actually all follow. So good morning, FFC. I would like to actually hand over the platform to you for presentation. Thank you. Yes.
Chairperson, sorry to disrupt you, but I think we didn't start on the right foot. We was maybe in a hurry for the letter of the minister, but we didn't have our agenda and also not adopting
agenda,
it.
Adopted. Well, sorry for that. We just actually got involved in the discussion of the response by the Treasury. It's actually two items. It was a briefing by the National Treasury and the FFC, and secondly, the adoption of our outstanding minutes. Those are the two items for consideration today. So I wonder if our honorable members would like to adopt that agenda or make any additions or subtractions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the agenda as it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Adams. Any seconder?
I move for this. I move to second the adoption of the agenda, Chairman.
Well, thanks, Honorable Nana. Thank you. Agenda having been adopted, can I now hand over to the FFC? And sorry for this slight hiccup. Thank you. Over to you, FFC.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning to the honorable members. My name is Dr. Nombeko Patience Mbava. I am the Chairperson of the Financial and Fiscal Commission. I'm accompanied chair by the research team who will also come in at the relevant time to do the presentation. I wanted to just switch on my camera so that you can see that there is a person, not a robot. Also, Chair, just to thank you so much and thank this committee for inviting the Commission to come and provide its insights and advice on this very important issue. We will deliberate. If there's anything, Chair, that we have missed in our presentation, we'll also deliberate on that. But for now, I would like to ask the research team to just flight our presentation.
Well, thank you, Doc. Well, it's over to them.
Thank you. Good morning, Honourable Chairperson. I just need access to share my screen, please, if that is possible.
Yes, rights will be shared now.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Are we winning? Lwazi, are we winning? Are we?
Yes, yes, Chair. Yes, Chair.
Okay, all right.
There we go. There we go. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Should connect now. There we go. Honourable Chair, it shows it's showing on my side. I'm just going to stop share. Is it on now?
No. It has come through, Gianni. It's fine.
All right. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Chairperson, for giving us this opportunity as the Financial and Fiscal Commission. I'm just going to go through just a few slides just to formally introduce the Financial and Fiscal Commission and its mandate, and why we are also a relevant stakeholder for this committee to engage with. Members, the Commission is a constitutional institution established under Chapter 13 of our Constitution. Our role is to make recommendations on all financial and fiscal matters. And we advise Parliament, such as this committee. We advise provincial legislatures, and we also advise the national government as well. We look at the equitable share and allocation of revenue across the 3 spheres of government. We also look at subnational issues, like provincial taxes, government guarantees, provincial loans, municipal loans. We also advise on the fiscal framework, and we look at the budget. We engage with the Minister of Finance and Parliament on the budget, and then we make our recommendations as well. And we also work with the committees in Parliament on the BRRR process, where we come in and we analyze the annual reports of the various entities under the committee's oversight, and we give our own independent analysis of the performance of the department. If you can go to the next slide. Our recommendation, when we make recommendations, we are guided by the Constitution, that we must always look at the national interest, the interest of South Africa, first and foremost. For instance, when you look at government debt, we must make sure that that government debt is sustainable. It does not disadvantage the provinces and municipalities in terms of executing their mandate. We must also look at the economic disparities in our country, given the fact that we know that we come from a past which was unequal. And so when we make allocations and we make budgets across the 3 spheres, we need to make sure that those allocations are fair, that there is equity, and that it meets the needs of our people, and that there is a progressive development in terms of socioeconomic rights. So that's very important. If you go to the next slide. So I'm going to pause here, Chair, and I'll hand over to the research team. We did receive a letter, Chair, from the committee, and I think we tried our best to capture what we felt was relevant. So the team now is going to go through the presentation, and then afterwards we'll hand over to you, Chair, and the members, then we can deliberate further. So Gianni, if you can go through the slides and give an overview of our analysis. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And good morning again to the Honourable Chairperson and all of the honourable members on the platform. My name is Gianni Deledone. I'll take you through the first half of the presentation, and then I'll hand over to my colleague Sabelo. In terms of just contextualizing land reform and rural development, we know that Section 25 of the Constitution recognizes the importance of land reform and rural development in South Africa, entrenching the need to redress the profound historical injustices of land dispossession, as well as to dismantle apartheid-era spatial inequalities. And this, we know, is critical to unlock the vast potential of agriculture, of rural entrepreneurship, as well as to foster social cohesion in South Africa. Just briefly, broadly, in terms of the policy framework, we note that the government has prioritized land reform and rural development agenda successive strategies, which include the Comprehensive Rural Development Program, of course, the National Development Plan, and most recently, the Integrated Rural Development Sector Strategy. Now, in terms of the National Development Plan, Chapter 6, outlines the need to build an integrated and inclusive rural economy by unlocking the full potential of rural areas, and that this should be done through targeted interventions in land reform, rural development, infrastructure, basic services, education, skills development, and enhanced employment and enterprise opportunities. However, as we are aware, we do highlight in the presentation and here that there are significant challenges that remain, particularly in slow progress in implementation and reaching the National Development Plan targets. And just for an example, ownership of land is still highly unequal, which is extremely problematic in terms of reaching the policy objectives. The 2017 Land Audit Report showed that approximately 40% of South Africa's poor live in rural areas with limited access to quality infrastructure and services. And the report also showed disparities in terms of ownership, that of a total of 39% of agricultural land was owned by individuals in the countries and disaggregated. 72% is owned by whites, 15% by coloreds, 5% by Indians, and only 4% by the African population. So we see also significant gender disparities in land ownership, with women only owning 13% of land. Importantly, as was mentioned also by some of the honourable members, is that there's numerous role players. And here on this slide, we summarize various the different categories of role players and the stakeholders or entities involved. Now, there are numerous stakeholders with specific functions and mandates that involve implementation in terms of land reform and fostering rural development in the country. And key here is that we need coordinated and effective collaboration across these. I won't go through all of them, but just to highlight from the slide, at the sub-national level, the provincial government and municipalities clearly play a key role in supporting farmers, local infrastructure, as well as land use planning at the municipal level, amongst various other responsibilities. And importantly, to enhance technical capacity and finance in the sector, numerous entities such as the Development Bank of South Africa, the Land Bank, and the Agricultural Research Council are also critical institutions that support the realization of the NDP goals through enhancing aspects of rural development and land reform. And for example, these entities support technology and skills development, innovation in spatial planning, and specialized financial assistance, which is important. Overview of the key funding mechanisms. Effective funding mechanisms are fundamental to ensuring effective implementation. And in this regard, there are numerous funding sources available, which include the budget allocations from the national sphere through the grant framework. For example, we have the direct allocations to the department itself. They also have various conditional grants, as well as the equitable share allocations to provinces. However, to note also other key funding sources are blended finance, soft loans, and financing specifically for infrastructure, agro-processing, and rural manufacturing. And these are from the development finance institutions, such as the Land Bank, the Development Bank of South Africa, and the Industrial Development Corp. Furthermore, private-public partnerships, donations, and multilateral funding sources are also other key funding mechanisms geared to support rural development and land reform in the country. Honourable members, this slide provides an overview of financial performance of the department in terms of spending performance. So here we show figures of spending performance, and of course we know that the department has now split, but this is of the previous Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development in order to show historical performance. So it's from 2020, 2021 to 2024. So spending performance improved between 2020-21 and peaked in 2023-24, and we do see a relative decline for the past year, for 2024-2025 fiscal year, where it moved from 100% spending, which means that there was no underspending in the allocation that they received, down to 94%. However, we do note that the department has achieved relatively consistently high spending performance over the past years, generally in excess of 90% when comparing to the final appropriation to funds actually spent. So we just note here the challenges the department faces, and we'll touch on this later again, is procurement delays, slow land acquisition processes, and implementation delays regarding farmer support programs. Then delving deeper into the financial performance of specific programs, the majority of programs, and we show here on the slide each program, so the agricultural production, biosecurity, and natural resource management, as well as economic development, trade and marketing, and the land administration. Those three programs consistently achieved a spending rate of 90% or above that, at least in the past 3 financial years. And this does suggest fairly strong budget execution across these programs. However, the Commission does note that the spending performance of the Rural Development Programme declined significantly, and this was from 100% spending performance in 2023-24 to 82% in 2024-25, with the underspending totaling 132.6 million over the period. We looked at the reason for this, and if we consider the sub-program, its Rural Infrastructure Development Program, this was primarily due to substantial underspending in this sub-program. Between 2023-24 and 2024-25, the Food Security, Land Reform and Restitution Program underspent its budget by 663.7 million, and this was primarily related to substantial underspending of 564 million approximately in its restitution sub-program, and this does reflect significant challenges in processing land restitution claims. And then very briefly, I'll just touch on some of the non-financial performance indicators, and these are selected indicators, not all of them, selected from the annual report and what is available. And what we do see is that performance in terms of the actual outcomes achieved declined across all of these selected indicators. Boards addressing apartheid-era spatial inequalities. So, for instance, declines in performance indicators are shown for both the training of youths as well as part of the National Rural Youth Service Initiative, and as well as for the number of claims, land claims finalized, has also declined. What is concerning here is also that the number of infrastructure projects completed on an annual basis declined by a significant 66% over the last year. And this significantly undermines the realization of the NDP and the medium-term development strategy goals of enhancing infrastructure investment for job creation. And the significant barriers that have been reported include significant barriers that hinder unlocking potential in agriculture, productive land use, and rural entrepreneurship are rooted in poor project management, and this largely relates to internal supply chain deficiencies and procurement challenges, which significantly hinder progress in creating sustainable livelihoods in rural areas. Thank you, honourable members. I'll now hand over to my colleague Sabelo to take you through the rest of these slides. Thank you so much.
Gianni, before Sabelo comes in, can you just go back to that slide and look and talk about the land claims? There's this interesting stats there that the members may want to hear. So the number of hectares allocated per year and the number of land claims since 2021 up until now. Please talk to those stats.
Yes, Chairperson. So we see that the estimated performance there at the bottom row for 2024-25, and this is according to the department's annual report, is 396, and this is significantly lower than the previous year, which actually seemed to achieve quite a high rate in terms of finalizing land claims in 2023-24. So it dropped from 641 to 389, which, although it is higher than if we look at 2022-23, there was a significant drop in that specific year. But I think what is important to, or rather what is worrying here is that in the annual report, we don't see what we have the MTF target, but we're not sure what informs those medium-term targets, because those medium-term targets are far less than what the department achieved in terms of finalizing land claims in 2023-24 and 2024-25. So why there has been this big drop, as well as big drop in terms of estimated outcome over the medium term, is at this point a bit unclear. It could be driven by the fact that there are less land claims, but we know that there's been a significant backlog for many years. So it is concerning that we see a decline in that, and even in the targets that the department hopes to achieve, we see it stagnating around 270, 280 land claims, which is significantly lower than what has been achieved previous years, and what is still lower than what has been achieved, the estimated performance for 2024-25. And we know that this will have significant knock-on effects and is a significant barrier to achieving the NDP targets and addressing the spatial inequalities that we have and that we still currently have. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. Thanks, Steve. Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning to all honorable members.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, and other officials that are present in the platform. Yes, my name is Sabelo Mtandato. I'll take you through the second part of our presentation, which mainly deals with the performance of key commercial grants within the agricultural sector. Then the sector has three key commercial grants. Firstly is the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program grant, which is the largest grant, or largest of the three grants. And then we have other two commercial grants, which are Ilimali Zima and Land Care. Starting with the performance of the CASP, that is Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program, which is aimed at expanding support for subsistence, smallholder, and black commercial farmers, which is also expected to assist with broadening the market access for these farmers, improving efficiency in farming, and contributing to sustainable employment, and mainly in rural areas. Looking at the spending performance of this grant over the period between 2019-20 to 2024-25, as a percentage, as you can see in the figure. The figure shows that there's been variable within an average of spending. Spending was around 88% over this period. But here it can be seen that from the graph that in 2024-25 financial year, spending was only at 77% of the allocated amount. And this is down from 98% in the previous year, which is 2023-24 financial year. And this reflects some implementation challenges by provinces. Next slide. Here, honorable members and chairperson, what we are showing here is the number of beneficiaries that have benefited from this grant that is CASP since the year 2004 to 2004-5 financial year. Key to note here, honorable members, is that a total of 727,720 farmers have benefited from this program over the period. The table also shows that, on average, CASP beneficiaries are receiving around 99,450. That is in the year 2021-22. When you compare this to 2004-5 financial year, on average, beneficiaries were receiving about 2,745 rands. Therefore, it's key here that it's important to emphasize that there's been a significant increase in nominal terms in the amount of each farmer receives from the grant. However, to note here, honorable members, the number of beneficiaries that is significantly decreased to 11,340 in 2021-22. When you compare this to 46,500 in 2024-25. Therefore, it is clear that while these amounts provided, they do provide support to farmers, they are insufficient when it comes to when you consider the comprehensiveness of the funding. Next slide. The second questionnaire grant, honorable members and chairperson, is Ilimalisima, which was established for a purpose of with the aim of aiding vulnerable South African farming communities to achieve an increase in agricultural production and investment infrastructure that unlocks agricultural production within strategically identified commodities or production areas. Key to note here, honorable members, is that the grant, what is expected to do is expected to achieve a number of goals or aims, and these include increased agricultural production in specific fields such as grain and oilseeds, improve farm income, increasing job opportunities, increasing production inputs, and reduce poverty and improve food security. With respect to its spending performance over the period between 2019-20 to 2024-25, as we can see, there's been an average spending of about 91%, which is better when you compare it with CASP, with the previous grant that we described. However, what we also want to emphasize here is that there's been an improvement, because if you look at the spending in 2023-24, it stood at 93%, and this has increased to 100% in 24-25 financial year. Next slide. So here what we're emphasizing is that while this grant, which is Ilimalisima, it performs better in terms of spending, the challenge is limited funding allocated through this grant. Because as you can see in the table, you can see that with the exception of 2008-2009, which is a year of inception, the funding has never exceeded an amount of 10,000 per beneficiary. This, therefore, one could question what kind of support each farmer can get and how many bags of fertilizer, for example, each farmer can buy with an amount which is less than 10,000. Next slide. This slide, chairperson and members, focuses on land care program, which is aimed to promote sustainable use and management of natural agricultural resources, leading to greater productivity food security, job creation, and better well-being for all. With respect to the spending performance over the period of 5 years from 2020-21 to 2024-25, we can see here performance stood at around 94% in 2020-21. And for 21-22, again, it remained around 94%. And it has increased and reached 100% in 22-23 going onwards. Next slide. This graph, honorable members, then summarizes the performance of all the 3 control grants by province now. Notable here is that the spending performance of grant transfer varies significantly across provincial departments and over the period that has been considered. Provinces such as the Eastern Cape and Limpopo here, we can see that have been consistently performing better or good compared to other provinces. Performance deteriorated drastically or significantly in some provinces in 2024-25. Those provinces include the Gauteng province, KZN, Northwest, and the Western Cape. Notable here, honorable members, is that there's been a worse performance in the Western Cape for 2024-25. As you can see that they only spent 43% of allocated funds. And overall, the last part, the total, then it shows the overall spending for 2023-24, which has dropped compared to only to 82% compared to the previous year, that is 23-24, when it was 97%. Next slide. Here, honorable members and chairperson, we are just highlighting some of the common challenges across the implementation or administration of these constitutional grants. And then my colleague has also touched on a number of these, just to emphasize that some of the delays include delayed application of fund, poor performance by contractors, procurement inefficiencies, and late approval of requests that have been submitted for rollovers by the departments. There are delays in supply chain management, again, difficulties finding suitable and qualified service providers. These are some of the challenges that we're highlighting. Honorable members, this last slide just speaks to some of the issues that we're raising and recommendations that we're putting forward. The FFC, firstly, reiterates its previous recommendation calling for consultation of all these 3 grants that I've touched on, along with other existing pool of funding geared at assisting small farmers to ensure that the added can contribute to the long-term sustainability of smallholder farmers. We need to streamline these findings, all these funds or funding sources. Secondly, apart from intergovernmental funding available through provincial departments and constitutional grants, there are other various additional funding sources and implementation support available for land reform and rural development. The FFC recommends that these multiple state organs together with departments should develop a robust funding model with clear and measurable targets. And these institutions that we're highlighting here should be part of that robust funding model. That is the DPSA, Development Bank of Southern Africa, and then there are and other key entities like Agricultural Research Councils, Land Bank also should come together. On that note, Chairperson, let me hand over to my Chairperson to conclude. Thank you very much.
No, thank you so much, Sabelo. Chairperson, I think that ends our presentation, and we want to hand over to you for further deliberation. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Mbava. One welcomes your presentation. It's quite comprehensive, and it provides us with some insight into the certain, land reform related, programs and their performance. Honorable members, one would actually at this juncture invite your clarity-seeking questions and your observations on the presentation that has just been made. Thank you. I will then recognize hands. I am going to, okay, I will recognize the hand of, who's this one? Andile, for Honorable Andile on the iPhone. Honorable Maseko, Honorable Nyambose, Honorable Adams. Is there anyone whom I could be, omitting here? Is there any other hand that I could be omitting? I see Honorable Mkhakha, he might actually want to comment, even though his hand is not up.
You must be careful. You must be careful of what you are wishing for, Chairman.
Honorable Nana, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Who else is whose hand is up? Who else is there? I don't see Honorable Matthias. Okay. All right. In that particular order, Honorable Mkitama, Honorable Maseko, Honorable Mtetwa, Honorable Adams, Honorable Mkhakha, and Honorable Nana.
Thank you, Chair, and honorable members. Chairperson, the perennial question of targets. We now, and I appreciate the presentation, comprehensive and well-structured. Now, Chair, I just want to make a proposal so that we harmonize the target setting parameters. We're sitting with two sets of targets now. The one from the NDP, which says 20% of agricultural land, and there's the other, which the president referred to, which is 30% of agricultural land. We can't be working on two sets of targets. So, Chairperson, I do suggest that early when we come back, we have a session where we harmonize these two conflicting targets, and we arrive at what we're working on, because otherwise we're working in the dark. It is very disconcerting that the land question is left so open-ended, undecided, and unplanned for, when we know that it is one of the key instruments to bring about national reconciliation and development for our people. We can't continue, Chair, with these undecided, conflicting commitments to certain targets. We must come with one target. We're all working towards that. And so that planning can be coherent. Otherwise, we are going to continue to work in the dark as it is now and not be clear about what must be achieved at what date. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mkutame, for that observation. The point you are raising is very important. Honorable Maseko.
Thank you, Chairperson, and also I want to appreciate the presentation. But Chair also said that I'm a little bit disappointed. I was looking forward to engage with the Fiscal Commission because it's the one. This commission is the one that gives the independent recommendation, and I hoped that they would have given us the brutally honest contribution, because whatever that they bring all the time is a researched information that it sort of contributes to the allocation in Treasury. So I saw that we got a lot of about the Department of Agricultural responsibility, and I'm being mindful in saying that because of I understand that there is somewhere blurry lines between the two departments, but I was hoping for us to see the how is this the commission, the Fiscal Commission, contributing on making sure that there is adequate funding when coming to the rural development, and especially in the historically disadvantaged areas. So also I wish to see if there's any monitoring expenditure trends that are specific, because we saw they gave us that, but it wasn't specific for the land reform. And the idea, I think intentionally when we invited Treasury and this department, was to try to get a rationale in the allocation of what the contributions is the Fiscal Commission, or what is it that has contributed to the decision that Treasury take as they reduce the allocation to the department. So a little bit disappointed in that. Maybe if they can, if I have to ask the question, it will be as they heard when you did the opening, Chairperson, on the trend of the allocation from Treasury reducing. What are their contribution in that, or what is the risk that they have identified in their research in what the Treasury is doing, or is it from them that they contributed with their research that they need to be reduced, or the movement of the allocation from the Department of Land Reform and rural development. And also, if maybe on the slide, I think it's slide 11, that slide, is it based on the land reform or is it agriculture? Because I'm trying to get, I've tried, and I looked at the presentation again and again, trying to find the ecosystem from land reform to the agriculture to can get the rationale, and looking at the information that we did want from the Fiscal Commission, that maybe my interpretation is wrong, but I'm trying to find out if they can, in the land reform language, not the agriculture, to try to unpack the clarity of the slide 11 and the slide 12. How does that contribute or to the land reform? Is those grants of the Litsima get to be received from the side of agriculture or of the land reform, or what is happening there? What is it that we are missing? And also, if maybe they can share with us the supporting evidence-based decision-making that that has the fiscal modeling. You know, we used to engage in the legislature with the Fiscal Commission in Western Cape that they will explain to us very nicely when coming to different departments, or the equitable share, that the fiscal modeling when coming to different departments, how does it go about? Because it's not a one financial year thing. It gets to be 5 years, it gets to be 10 years, but the modeling will be something that is sustainable, that the Fiscal Commission will continue with the department and the Treasury advising them that now you start here and you'll continue this way. Now, when you look at the short allocation, trying to reach the NDP percentage and versus what we are receiving is not working. Now, the initiation of the FFC when coming to that modeling, what was there versus what is here now? That's what we are trying to find out, and maybe if they can take us into confidence in that to try to share with us their influence when coming to specific recommendations in the department. I hope that makes sense, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Maseko. Honorable Nteto.
Greetings, Chair, and greetings to fellow portfolio committee members. I was expecting more of a depth of public finance intervention, so that you show us the behind the scene of what does it take to do the budgetary allocation. But I also thought you will take us down the memory lane of the economic fabric. How is it carved out? How much in the overall percentage of the South African economy does the state controls that economy? Because that is where we should be looking at how much of a state control of economy, so that it can be able to render national agenda issues, which will then give us a specific allocation, which informs the allocation that we get as the land reform and rural development. My question to you, as a public fiscal commission, did you think through your function in the event whereby the state is no longer controlling the economy? Are you still able to then advise the state in a manner that you used to advise the state? Because I don't think you were established in 94, but probably a prototype body of your function was there even before 94. And now that the economy has totally shifted, we now have a private sector that controls the economy. And how do you then expect that you will have enough money to fulfill national agenda items? Let us also agree that the legacy of CODESA negotiation is a result of this problem we are facing now, where land was not discussed in CODESA. As a result, even the manner in which we're dealing with land now, in 31 years of democracy, we are still dealing with it the same way as it was before 94. Proof of that, you just gave us statistics where you said 72% of land belong to white people, and black people are sitting at 13% or something. That 13% is the 112 years percentage which black people were left with in 1913. So which means there was no movement in terms of the shift. Look at the interventions that we are using. We are on a downward spiral trend in terms of budgetary allocation, which means our intention is not to achieve the Millennium Development Goals of land transfer from the 72% to change the paradigm to be the other way around, because this 72% is constituted of people who are 8%. Have you also thought of how the state will function
because the old order was only servicing 8%, which was white people only. They didn't care about blacks. Here you have now a backlog of 92% blacks who must be serviced by a state that doesn't control the economy in the situation where 72% of land is in the white hands. And how do you hope to achieve this feat, which is an impossible mission? Then I will also go into the issue of the banking sector. The fortunate part, we had an oversight with the Agricultural Portfolio Committee. We saw the project allocation and funds that you're talking about that have been allocated to agricultural projects and land reform. The impact of those allocated funds is not felt by the previously disadvantaged. Instead, the white commercial farmers are abusing the emerging black farmers, wherein the drop that you are giving them, as you can see, it runs in 2 millions. Those millions are not even a drop of what are the capital expenditure that is incurred by one individual farmer. How much more when you give them a drop each and you hope that something is going to turn around, and it is not. And most of these farmers we're talking about, yesterday we had a meeting where we were shown the numbers of farmers, and we were shown a number that says blacks are more. But I queried those statistics because the blacks, yes, they are many numerically, but all of them are holding 1 hectare, 2 hectare, 3 hectare, and which in economic terms in agriculture, those 1 hectare don't have an impact in a commercially viable farming process. So you still have those 72% who controls the lion's share. They even control the productivity of the emerging farmers. They control the implements that you buy into your farm. They control the banks wherein you can actually get your money or where you are banking. They control the entire value chain, the marketing of agricultural product. They control pack houses. So at the end of the day, the farmers that we intend to empower in rural development, they end up being slaves. They told us straight, they said, nationally we are suffocating. If you can visit every individual farmer, those who are surviving or who look like they're surviving, it is because they had to take their own pension to come and inject it into the business. But as you anticipate to get growth in the business, you get sealed or you reach a ceiling because the entire value chain up to the offtake agreements are controlled by the 72%, which are a syndicate. They work together as syndicates, as association of different commodities, which then clearly shows it is about suppression. In public management, we studied the relationship of a public sector manager and a private sector manager. I thought also you will bring us that perspective, especially that South Africa is now controlled by private sector in terms of economy. Then you need to understand the interface between a public manager versus a private sector manager. And what is the interface? Because it is impacting on how the economy is functioning. As I look at it, our government is functioning outside the economic scope. Even themselves are dependent on these guys. And what was your advice that you gave to the Land Reform Department or the Treasury, the willing buyer, willing seller? I say in the history of land reform from 1913, there's no history where blacks were selling their land to whites. So how did we come into a conclusion on a policy of willing buyer, willing seller when there was never such a thing? We were dispossessed and whites, they took our land, but in our dispensation, we are negotiating with them. We are saying, are you willing to sell? Are you willing to buy? But also we never conceived where would we draw money from to give to these blacks who are previously disadvantaged and dispossessed for them to buy from these whites. What these whites are doing, they take the money which you gave them through willing buyer, willing seller, they come and invest it back into the business which you have given to these emerging farmers farmers, because these emerging farmers, after you procured the farm for them, they cannot run it because they need operational capital, where in these whites they come back again. I have a case in point in Louwsburg, in Vryheid, wherein an emerging farmer who was doing forestry was sequestrated. Eventually, they brought an administrator. The administrator ran down the farm. Instead of making it to look better than what it was, there was forestry trees that were supposed to be harvested. The white farmer who used to own the very same farm was brought back to be now the administrator of the same farm of his, and they actually ran it down so that they dispossessed this black emerging farmer. This is the cutthroat experience our emerging farmers are finding themselves in, and the contribution that the state is giving is so mediocre or so meager that you can't even buy one or two items because the private sector controls the entire agricultural sector. So these are things that we are looking at, and surely we will never achieve the objective if we go according to this pace. Thank you.
Thank you, Nyambos. Honorable members, I was hoping that by 12:15 we would have be done with this meeting, because there are questions today, and I was thinking that honorable members would want to have some time to prepare themselves for those questions. But I appreciate your comprehensive, inputs. But I'm just pleading for us to be mindful of the time constraints. Honorable Adams.
Thank you, Chairperson. And let me also join my colleagues by welcoming the presentation. Chairperson, I will go straight to my questions. The Department of Land Reform and Rural Development confronts enormous challenge in terms of land restitution and land acquisition and tenure reform. Given this enormity, are the funding instruments adequate to ensure redress of historical injustice? My question, what are the alternatives in this regard? And then the presentation points out underperformance and underspending on key programs, including restitution, redistribution, as well as rural infrastructure programs. My question, what can be done to fast-track land reform and rural economic development on a sustainable basis? The impact of grant funding for upscaling of black farmers seems minuscule to really lay the foundation for striving emergent farmers that are geared towards participation in the value chain. Question, how should grant funding instruments be structured to ensure emergent farmers benefit from grant funding support and development further in terms of market access and integration into value chains? My last one, Chair. The presentation suggests that the existing institutions such as Land Bank, Agriculture Research Council, and the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research as well are well placed to provide support as an ecosystem. Question, what has failed between these institutions to provide coordinated and impactful support for emergent farmers? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Adams. Honorable Mkhaga.
Thanks, Honorable Chair and honorable members. Greetings to the Commission. Just a few questions, Chair, from my side, short questions. I understand that the fiscal this commission has got high influence over Treasury. Just to check whether after it has made recommendation to Treasury, it interacts with the relevant departments in terms of its own recommendation? Is there a direct interaction with the department and beyond interaction with Treasury? I'm raising this because I wanted to check whether they do have an influence over the ministers in relation to their programs. The second question, the power to enforce, are they merely advisors, or they do have, in terms of their constitutional responsibility, because they are a constitutional body, they do have powers to enforce their recommendations? Do they, or it's just a mere advisory body? Whether you take it or not, it's immaterial. It's just to check the powers they have over departments. The ownership and control, the ownership patterns are worrying, and they are not shifting. 5 years ago, we're told of this 72% out of 39% of the arable land or commercial land. 72%, 15%. And I thought by now there would have been shifts towards a particular direction. And I'm not sure why these figures are so stagnant, and they are not moving. It's a worrying factor, Chair, whether the program itself of land reform, including agriculture, does not make an impact in terms of our people's development. Maybe their comment might be interesting as far as this trend is concerned. It's a worrying trend, Chair, and I think it's the under budgeting. There is a correlation between the performance of local government or municipalities, because all this land is within the jurisdiction of municipalities, and land reform and rural development. You understand that for the past decade, there's been under serious budgeting for municipalities, 9% nationally, and there's serious under budgeting for land reform. Is this what could be an ideal allocation for land reform and rural development in terms of their own research work? What could be their ideal so that you propel this particular question of land restitution and land restitution to our people? What could be the ideal, or what is it that they are recommending to Treasury to fast track this program? Well, this program is not moving, is in stagnation. In fact, years are galloping, but they seem to be reversing in terms of ensuring that there is progress as far as this underspending in rural areas, particularly on infrastructure, 131.6 millions of underspending in rural infrastructure. One would be interested as to their comments as far as this is concerned, because they are the one who are assessing the performance in relation to their recommendations. Because in rural areas, really, there's no dent that we're making as far as these projects, infrastructural projects, is concerned. In fact, there's a decline, as we are saying here, by 66%, meaning our people in majority in rural areas, there's little that they are benefiting from this program, and they basically depend on subsistence farming. Is this the best model? This question of assisting rural areas might need a new approach. Do they have any alternative models that should assist our rural people as far as this is concerned? The last one, Chair, is this question of land claims. It's worrying, this drop for the past 2 financial years in terms of land claims. It's a worrying factor, and I'm not sure their comments, because they should be seized with this question in terms of advising Treasury. Treasury does not listen to anyone, because Treasury's objective is to meet the targets of IMF. And unfortunately, we're not controlled by IMF. It's a worrying factor. But because they are a constitutional body, they might have observed some trends and responses from Treasury. Are you worried that by this time, this question of land reform is not making a dent to the lives of our people in terms of creating jobs, in terms of land distribution? What could be your comment as far as that is concerned? Are we sharing the same as politicians with yourselves in terms of being worried that after 30 years we have not yet made a tangible movement in terms of this question of willing seller, willing buyer? I take it that it was through your advice then when it was introduced. I'm not sure, Chair. I'm subject to correction on this one. But what could be the best model going forward? Because you must be frustrated even yourselves as you are making this research and whatever, and yet there's no actually acceptable pace in terms of a movement. What could be, in terms of your modeling, your best model of land redistribution that is well understood internationally to fast track this particular program? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mkhaka. The last one would be Honorable Nana. Then we will actually then invite the FFC to actually make their responses. Honorable Nana, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and good morning to colleagues and the delegation from the Commission. Probably let me first join my colleagues in welcoming the presentation. It's a well thought out, professionally laid out presentation, which I found quite informative. But I must also mention this, Chairman. If they haven't, I know they can't invite themselves to these portfolio committee meetings. As they say that hindsight is the best teacher. In hindsight, if they haven't presented to Department of Agriculture, up to the PC on agriculture, I'm really thinking that it would have been beneficial for our colleagues in agriculture as well to have been part of this meeting, whether in a form of a joint meeting. But as I say, hindsight is the best teacher. Chairman Ugaba, Honorable Mkhaka has partly covered me on the strength of the recommendations by the Commission to National Treasury. And I wouldn't want to belabor that point. I hope the Commission has understood his question. Secondly, in the presentation they made this morning, one of the factors that they take into account, and I'm asking this question tying it to what Honorable Mkhaka asked about the strength of their recommendations. In their presentation this morning, one of the factors that they take into account is whether, or it's issues of national importance. Now, looking at the decline in budget allocation for the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development. And consequences thereof that might not be ideal for the country. Is the Commission considering land reform as a matter of national importance? And if the answer is yes, what is it that they are doing or can do to assist us as the committee in influencing the budgeting process of the country, so that this department can be given, I know there's never sufficient money, can be given a sensible allocation that would really show that as government we are serious about restoring land to landless South Africans. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Nana. Over to you, Dr. Mbava and the team.
Thank you so much, Chairperson, and thank you so much to all the honorable members for the questions. I will come in towards the end. Let me just first ask the researchers if they have comments to some of the questions, and then I'll also come in as well. Gianni and Sabelo, in that order. Comments, thoughts on any of the questions?
All right, thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Numerous comments made, but I think I'd like to touch on what I can. There was a question revolving around, because we accept that the presentation also included that on agriculture and not specifically land reform, rural development and land reform. And this is because of the splitting of the departments is so recent. So the data that we had available unfortunately hindered us in really honing in. But there was a question revolving around, and I hope I understood the honourable member, is about how these agricultural, where's the interlink actually between some of the agricultural conditional grants and rural development and land reform. And apologies that that was not elaborated more, given the committee we're presenting to, but just to touch on some of these. So for instance, the CASP supporting rural development and land reform. The support area focuses on inputs, infrastructure, and this is important as it enables productive use of redistributed land. Other aspects such as market access, value change, this is critical for to move from subsistence farming to commercial activity and fostering those local rural economies. And then there's also improves financial viability of smallholder farmers, although we do recognize the challenges there. The other grant, also the Lima Letsema, this can boost food security. It's focused on that, local food production, as well as in reform areas, and can also assist in productive but unlocking the productive potential of underutilized land. Job creation is a further one, but we do take the honourable member's comment and hope to provide more detail on specifically the land reform program once we have more available data on that. There was a question around where we have these multiple institutions, stakeholders that are supposed to support land reform and rural development. The Development Bank of South Africa, the Agricultural Research Council, Land Bank, and so forth, along with our national and provincial departments. The issue here is that there's this lack of overarching coordination mechanism. So although these mandates are they overlap and they're supposed to support one another. However, if the mandates are not aligned better, then there's also implementation challenges and blurred lines of accountability. So there needs to be better coordination between these authorities and budgeting and plans across National Treasury, the Department, the DBSA, Land Bank, provinces, and there's a need to move away from ad hoc collaboration. This is fragmented and delays decision making and actually implementation. I think another aspect that should be considered in order to strengthen such coordination is also information sharing and upskilling in terms of improving capacity in terms of data. So this is also important in order to measure the outputs and to fast track implementation, because as members have expressed, implementation is slow and hindered largely by these internal capacity constraints, and it needs to be taken more seriously, and improving data and also integrating spatial plans even at the local level. These aspects all need to be considered and improved upon. I think just final one of the other final comments in terms of this developing a land distribution model. Just a brief point on this. In order to develop such a model, including its funding components, this also stems closely to the issue of coordination mentioned above. The FFC's role is essentially to assess the efficacy and the equitability of such models that are developed by stakeholders and can assist stakeholders. But the FFC's role, and I don't want to speak for my chairperson, but I'm sure she may elaborate. We make recommendations to Parliament and not directly to the departments nor Treasury itself. What the FFC recommendation in this presentation is advocating for is that the entities that are there, the existing structures, including National Treasury, the Department, provinces, as mentioned, the DBSA, Land Bank, and the Agricultural Research Councils, these need to consider budget alignment, setting joint and measurable targets, and more effective ways to monitor integrated outcomes. And with available data, and then it will also capacitate the FFC to more rigorously conduct research. We need data in order to provide evidence-based policy recommendations. I'll hand over to my colleague Sabelo if he has any further comments. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gianni, and thank you very much for the questions. I think most of the questions have to do with the mandate of the FFC and the powers and the influence FFC would have maybe to departments and to National Treasury, determining how National Treasury allocates funds, etc., etc. But I think Jan has tried to explain what actually is the role of the FFC, and I'm sure the chairperson would also elaborate on that point later on. How far do we go? Because we can only do this much. We can't do beyond what our mandate allows us to do. I think our chairperson will elaborate on that. Trying just to add some more clarity on what Gianni has already said around the relationship between, because members were of the view that maybe some of the information was more on agriculture and not much more on land reforms. We are of the view that there's a very, very strong link between the two, because land reform has its own aims and objectives, of which it includes the fact that the land should be productive after it has been given to someone or to black farmers. But now the funding side, agricultural side, the grants that we've presented on are tools that are trying to assist those farmers that would have received that land to make sure that they are productive and they contribute to food security issues, creating employment where necessary, things like that. And then funding again on those through those IGFR instruments then would be key to ensure that we stay on our objectives while we do the reforms. The other question, I think, that's relating to the what I want to touch on. I think the stubborn shift. I think it's because of the size of this. It's the funding. I would say the funding maybe is the main issue, because for one to fast track the shift in terms of ownership, funding is key. Then if funding, we don't have adequate funding, is limited, then the shift would be slow as we see it now. I think Jan has touched on the importance of key institutions, the importance of coordination that will improve the productiveness or production or efficiency in terms of those institutions that are involved in the sector. And I think one of the things that one of the findings was the research that we undertook, where we're analyzing some of the factors influencing the performance of these cultural grants that we've touched on, past Ilima Decima and land care, was that there's a number of these grants. There's these 3 grants, and there are other forms of assistance given to the farmers, but in small piecemeals, and then it delays because they are not coordinated in the nature. Then their impact is not seen at the end of the day. But if we are coordinating this, hence we even recommended that this should be merged. We said this in our annual submission a year ago, and we are keeping on making sure that we're making noise until this is being done, because we believe that efficiency will be obtained if we merge this. And there's a positive development here, because I think in the next MTF 2026 or 2027, then the department has indicated, or National Treasury has indicated, that at least there will be a merger between the Ilima Letsima as well as CASP grant. But we are still advocating for all these other funding streams also to be merged together. I think, having said that, let me hand over to our chairperson to add and make some remarks. Thank you very much.
No, thank you so much, Sabelo. Chairperson, thank you so much for the questions. Honorable Mthethwa, I think he gave quite a very comprehensive political overview. And also, Chair, I think one of the questions he raised is about what happens if the Treasury no longer controls, or South Africa rather, no longer controls the economy, and what happens to the role of the FFC. So if we look at the genesis of the FFC and where it comes from, the Financial and Fiscal Commission will remember, honorable members, that it is a product of a multi-party constitutional negotiation settlement that came from the 1994 election. There was a clear agreement that there must be an independent constitutional institution that must be able to guard against the political excesses, and also ensure there are checks and balances when it comes to fiscal allocations, because you cannot leave fiscal allocations to the political parties, because there's always vested interest that those who are in power will always allocate more resources towards their own political agendas. So the FFC then was there to be an arbiter, to be a referee, to ensure that the constitutional values are maintained in terms of equity and sustainability. So the FFC, because it's a constitutional institution, it is there to ensure that we protect the national interests. So, for instance, as you allude, Honorable Mthethwa, I think also Honorable Mkhakha as well, that in an environment where now we are beholden to foreign interests when it comes to our fiscal purse. For instance, if we are paying more money now to the World Bank or IMF, then it is the role of the FFC then to ensure that the debt of this country does not inadvertently disadvantage South Africans. So we must be the conscience as FFC to National Treasury, to Parliament, to always alert to say that now this budget is credible, or no, this budget is actually going to do a disfavor to our people, because we see that we are paying a lot of money towards IMF, World Bank, whoever, So we must always ensure that our budget is sustainable, that first and foremost, that our budget is there to ensure that the three spheres of government, national, provincial, and local government, meet their constitutional mandates before we put all our eggs towards paying national debt. So one of the key issues we have raised now with the recent medium-term budget policy statement is that we are very, very much concerned with regards to the mushrooming debt service cost. We are paying a lot of money on an annual basis towards servicing the debt at the expense of service delivery. So it's a problem that we want to highlight, so that we can rein in that debt, so that we can be sure that the resources of this country are used for development, that we actually go back to those targets that Honorable Mngxatana is raising of 20%, the NDP, or 30%, the president, which is which. So we must live up to those targets. So our role then as the FFC is to ensure that we maintain a fiscal sustainable path, and that we are the conscience of National Treasury and Parliament. And Parliament as well must be able to hold Treasury accountable. Treasury is a department like any other department. So they have a role and a duty to account to Parliament. So in terms of then, what is our power then? Do we, I think Honorable Mokgakga asked, do we have the power to enforce our recommendations? So these are not just advice. Honorable Mokgakga, it's not just advice. These are constitutional recommendations that we are making because we are mandated in terms of the Constitution to make those recommendations. And therefore, the recipients have a duty to consider those recommendations. And if they are not implementing their recommendations, they have a duty as well to explain why they are not implementing those recommendations. And then who holds them accountable? Who holds the members of the executive accountable for the implementations of the FFC recommendations? It is not FFC. It is Parliament. It is yourselves. You, as the members of Parliament, hold the executive accountable for their implementation of the recommendations of Parliament. So we have made it very clear to Parliament that it is their duty to ensure that those recommendations that we make to the departments led by the member of the executive, the minister. So the committee must hold the minister accountable for implementing this. So in our last interaction with the Minister of Finance, because there was some sort of not a clear path as to how these recommendations reach the ministers. Because we make lots of recommendations to where the members of the executive must actually implement. But whether they get the recommendations, they receive the recommendations is another matter. So we have come to a decision with the Minister of Finance that because we also give him the recommendations as well. He's also a recipient, one of the recipients of the recommendations. Parliament received the recommendations. National government received the recommendations. The Minister of Finance also received the recommendations. On his part, he has made a commitment that he will take all the recommendations of the Commission to Cabinet. Because Cabinet, that is where all the members of the executives are, and then they will receive those recommendations as a collective and then be able to engage with them as a collective. So we think that that is a progressive stance that we are advocating for. In terms of engaging with the departments, our only engagement, Honorable Mokgakga, with the departments is when we are doing our research. When we are doing our research and there's data requirements, or we want to interview members of the department as it pertains to our research, then we engage with the department from that perspective. But in terms of our mandate, our direct line is only to Parliament, the provincial legislatures. We make recommendations through them. And then they are the ones who hold their members, the departments, accountable through the minister of that department. So the power to enforce then lies through Parliament. The power to enforce the recommendations of the FFC lies through Parliament. And we engage with the departments when we do our research as well. So if there are other questions that we have missed, honorable members, we are also going to we're also going to respond to you, because I think we've made notes of all the questions, and we will engage further. So if there's any particular questions that we have missed, we will respond in writing. But I think for now we want to just pause here, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mbava and your team. Thank you for your comprehensive responses. indeed, if there are any questions that might have actually been missed, I would really, really welcome and appreciate your written responses to those questions. Except for one that actually came from Honorable Nana in respect of your presentation. If it was to share this particular presentation with the Portfolio Committee of Agriculture, because from where we seated as this Portfolio Committee, we feel that it could actually be very useful to the Department of Agriculture as well, as it has been useful to us to gain some insights into the operations of some of the agricultural related, entities. I wonder if you could actually comment on that.
Yes, Chairperson, thank you so much. I think we appreciate that. We actually had a whole chapter on issues that pertain to smallholder farmers in our last submission, and I think we missed an opportunity to present to that committee. And I think we will take it upon ourselves now to write to the committee chairperson and request an audience with the committee to present our findings, because these really do speak to that committee. So we will take it up, Chair, and we will engage with that committee in terms of having an audience with them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mbava and your team. Honorable members, I know that there could be some temptation of actually making follow-up questions, but really time is not on our side. Thank you very much, Dr. Mbava and your team. Well, we will keep on inviting you. Please don't hesitate to actually respond positively to our invitations, as you have actually done so, because believe you me, we are trying everything in our power to actually accelerate the issue of land reform, because it's a major frustration for our people out there. We've just returned from an oversight visit in Limpopo, and the frustrations and concerns that our people are having out there, it doesn't bode well for for our democracy. So I think it is incumbent upon all of us to actually prioritize the issue of land reform in this country, because contrary to that, then it would be very ghastly to contemplate, because people then are going to to embark on unconstitutional measures to actually address their frustrations. So thank you so much, Dr. Mbava and the team, for your comprehensive presentation and your comprehensive responses to the questions and observations made by our honorable members. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you.
Honorable members, our second item is actually to do with the adoption of outstanding minutes. I will hand over to our secretary to flag those minutes. These are the minutes of our meeting, which was held on the 12th of November. Can we actually go through them seriatim, page by page? For correction purposes, the list of people who were present. Yes, the second page. Opening and adoption of the agenda. Apologies. Did we list our people correctly there who had actually tendered their apologies? Yes. The next page. Honorable members, these minutes were circulated. So if there are any shortfalls in terms of content, members are free to actually raise their hands and, point that out. Any proposal for the adoption of the minutes?
Chairman,
yes,
I move for the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Nana. Any seconder? I can't see the hands. Can you just please, can anybody just, indicate? You can actually just come in because I don't see the hands here.
Maseko seconding, Chair.
Oh, thank you, Honorable Maseko, for your secondment. Honorable members, that brings us to the end of our meeting. Yes.
Chair, before you the meeting, update on the trip of Columbia.
Update on?
Sorry, I muted myself. I wanted an update on the international conference in Columbia next year. Did you get a response yet? Because they take long to respond to you.
Okay, as far as I'm concerned, I actually have not heard any progress around that. Maybe I should actually then invite our content advisor to actually, give us what actually he's got so far on that in that regard.
We'll appreciate that because it's February, as he said.
Yeah. Dr. Maneze, are you on the platform?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Chair and honorable members and colleagues. Yeah, it's a difficult one at this point in time. We have written to the department for assistance in terms of accreditation and registration, because Parliament will have to, take care of all the logistical arrangements. At this point, and we've done that. I think it was in October. We haven't received a response from the department. I do know because I've been liaising with the colleagues there. I do know that some work has been done. I just can't figure out where is it stuck. That's where we are at. So there's this high level of uncertainty because we don't have any accreditations as we speak now. But it was about yesterday or day before, where DG said he was going to follow up on the matter. So it would really help, Chair, if maybe you could also follow up maybe with or we could do follow up with the Office of the Minister as well. But as it stands now, today being the last committee meeting for the year, we can't say whether we are going or not. We had hoped that by now we have, submitted an application to the House Chair and approval, so that we are quite sure that in January we are just doing, logistics. That's unless if maybe the new developments from the committee secretary, we didn't talk before the meeting about it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Maneze. Secretary, do you have any information in that regard?
Afternoon,
any development?
Nothing from my side. I did inquire, Chair, but they will always tell you that we are waiting for this one to sign, we're waiting for that one to sign. But from my side, there's nothing, Chair.
Well, thank you, honorable members. It would appear that we actually need to ensure that we actually, push these people to actually say something about this, because there would be a need for logistical arrangements to be made in time, and January is not the best month for anybody. So it is important that an indication is actually made right now whether they are approving of that trip or not, so that we all know what needs to be done. Honorable members, this being the last meeting in the year, one would like to wish you a happy Christmas. Please keep yourself safe, keep yourselves warm, so that we are able to meet again in one piece next year. We don't want to hear stories that one of our members of this committee was involved in a kind of accident or whatever. May the good Lord actually look after you, and please enjoy your holidays, festive season with your families. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year. Thank you so much, honorable members.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. And you too have a fantastic one and be safe out there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ad hoc committee members are getting abducted now.
With your family. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned, honorable members.
Thank you,
Thank
Chair.
you.
Thank you, Chair.
Chief? Chief?
Hi, Lwazi.
Me and you, I think, and Cynthia can remain for a few minutes.
Yeah. Please stop recording.
Big Chief, I'm here. Let me go if it's not me.
You can stop recording so that I can nicely listen to you. I'm joking.
All right.
Guys, I can't go out. Somebody has to just...
Recording stopped.
Chief. Big Chief.
Wait. We have to help colleagues open the door.
Shame, leave the door. Right, I'm coming back now, then I'll leave the meeting.
Suresh, do you want someone to open the door for you, or you are able to do it yourself?
No, I'm here. I just want to speak to us before I leave the meeting. Us as the support team. Bye.
I think it's only us now.
Yes. Are we still streaming?
No, the parliamentary streaming is still on the platform.
Yeah, parliamentary streaming is still here. I don't know. I don't want to remove them and then the next thing, but yeah, you interfered.
Should I was about to remove them. Should I leave them?
I don't know.
The meeting is adjourned.
Yes, I can remove them.